Hi everyone, I'm Peter. I'm going to be talking about events that happened in my life over the years. When I tell these stories to people, people always say to me, "Why don't you write a book?" So I thought writing a book for me would be very time consuming. I felt it's better if I just videoed it and record it on video and then put it on YouTube for people around the world to hear my stories. And some of them you'll find very interesting, and some you may even enjoy. This particular story is about school in Johannesburg, South Africa, in the 1950s. And I must have been about this particular story. I was about 15 years old at the time, and we were supposed to hand in our homework, our assignment for maths this particular morning, and we had been warned by the teacher already, because once you have three warnings from the teacher, or you've been caned three times by him for not doing your homework, and then you had to see Mr. van der Spey, the principal. And Mr. van der Spey, if you ever saw the comedy show Hogan's Heroes, he looked like Sergeant Schultz. Something like that. So, and he had a selection of sticks or canes he used to use, and something like this. He'd have a fat one perhaps, or a long skinny one, depending on the depending on depending on the offense, and then that's how we would choose which cane to use. If you didn't do your homework, was one size, and if it was something else, he'd choose another one, whichever he felt was deemed uh, suitable for that particular offense between yourself and the teacher. So this particular Tuesday morning, we didn't do our homework because normally there were five of us: Winky, Alex, Louis, Raymond, and myself. And one of us would be nominated, or one of us would do the homework, and the other four of us would just copy what the person wrote, and that was it. We didn't check whether it was right, wrong, or indifferent, because we were too busy playing soccer and playing marbles and playing top, as people did those days. And by the time we got to school, we had about 10 minutes to go before we went into the classroom, and maths was the first subject of the day. And the maths class would last about 20 minutes. So we realized we hadn't done the homework, none of us had done it. So I was prepared to take my punishment, because I'd been warned three times by the teacher. So my destiny was going to be Mr. van der Spey that day. But I thought if there's a way out, I would try to wriggle out of it. And the other four guys were also panicking. They didn't want to face van der Spey. And they said, well, think of something. What can we do to get out of this? And then it suddenly dawned on me, maybe we can pull this off. And I said to them, okay, I need a volunteer. And Raymond's hand shot up. He says, I'll volunteer. He said, what must I do? I said, what you do, as soon as we walk in the class, you say to the teacher that you need to go to the toilet. He'll say no, because he never let us go for the first session of the day if we asked to leave the room to go to the toilet. He'll always say, no, sit down. You had plenty of time to go before you came into the class. And this particular morning, right enough, we got into the classroom, and the five of us, and I looked across at Raymond, because he volunteered to faint. That was the idea, faint, and the four of us would rush out, pick him up, lift him, and carry him out very slowly to the toilet, which was about 50 meters away. So when we arrived at the classroom, I said to him, we'll get up. And, nodded to him, do your thing. And he said, oh, sir, I need to go to the toilet. And the teacher said, no, you had plenty of time to go before you came here. You sit down. And he said, no, I've got to go. And he said, you sit down. And like a movie, he just went over backwards, bang, hit the floor, and the four of us jumped out of our seats to pick him up and carry him off. But one of the girls sitting behind us was a first aid person. She belonged to the St. John's ambulance, and she knew about rendering first aid. So she shouted out to the teacher, "It's all right, I know what to do, I'll revive him." And the teacher was standing in the corner screaming. He was really freaking out. He says, "Oh, get him out of here, get him out of here." The whole class was in chaos, in uproar now, because nobody knew what was going on except the five of us. We knew what we were doing. And she came across and she knelt beside me, because I was already there kneeling down to lift him up. And she said, "Oh, I'll revive him." And the first thing she did was unbutton his trousers. And while she was unbuttoning his pants, his fly, I had a look at his face and he's starting to smile. So I thought she's going to, if she sees him smile, she knows it's not a real faint. But I had to admit to her, I said, "Look," her name was Naomi. I said, "Naomi, help us out here, because the fact is we didn't do our homework and we're trying to get out of the class. Otherwise, we're going to go to Funded Space office." And I said, "You know what he's like when he gets you in the office there?" And she said, "Oh, okay, okay." And she said, "No, sir, they've got to take him out. He needs air." And the teacher said, "Get him out of here, get him out of here." So we lifted him up very slowly, took our time, carrying him shoulder high, and we walked very slowly to the toilet. When we got to the toilet, we could see the classroom from the toilet. And of course, the five of us, I didn't smoke, but the other four guys were smokers. They started lighting up and smoking, celebrating our escape. And I actually called this the Great Escape. I like to call it the Great Escape because I don't know anyone else who pulled off something like this in school. But there probably are people that did do something like this. So I call it the Great Escape. And I said to them, "Don't smoke in here, because he's going to send up one of his favorites from the class to come and see why we're taking so long to come back to the class." And right enough, within the next 5 minutes, one of his favorite boys came up to ask us why we're taking so long. So I said, "You know what to do? You put your pants down by your ankles, and the four of us will hold you up, and all you got to say is, 'I can't pee, I can't pee,' and put the cigarettes out." They put the cigarettes out, and as soon as he walked in, he says, "Oh, someone's been smoking in here." I said, "Oh, there was a teacher in here just before you came, and he had a smoke and left." So he said, "Well, the teacher wants to know why you guys are taking so long." I said, "Well, have a look." And Raymond is going, "Oh, I can't pee, I can't pee," and we're holding him up. I said, "You see, it's all his fault. He should have let him come to the toilet." And he said, "Oh, I better go and tell him." I said, "You better tell him." So he left. And of course, as soon as he was out of sight, Raymond pulled up his pants and buckled himself up. And we just stood there chatting, waiting for the time to go, because we knew it's just a 20-minute session. And just before the bell rang for the end of the session, we started walking back to the classroom very slowly. So as we reached the door, the teacher was leaving to go to the next class, because the next subject, I think, was geography after that. And he said to us, "Is he okay?" I said, "Well, it's your fault. He asked you to go, and you said no. So, we'll have to tell his parents this afternoon that he got sick in class and so forth." "Oh, I'm so glad he's all right now." This is the teacher saying, "I'm so glad he's all right now, and we have to forget what happened today." I said, "Oh, well, maybe. It's not every day these sort of things happen, sir." And anyhow, that was the Great Escape. I hope you enjoyed that little story. And I want to do one video a week, so that we can catch up with stories and events of my life, living in South Africa, and then moving to Australia. I've got many more to tell. So don't forget to like and also subscribe, and take care. God bless you all.